Hi, this is David. Uh, we're going to get back to our pre-flop in just a little bit, but I thought it was necessary to take a departure here and talk a little bit about semi-bluffing and equity-adjusted lay, because we were getting into some of that unintentionally. Anyway, if we remember from our little one-card poker game, the defensive side of, the optimal defense, when our opponent, suppose the opponent, we have the jack. The opponent draws one of these four cards, he bets at the pot. And let's suppose he's laying odds, he's betting 2-1, okay? From the defensive point of view, to keep him from making money on his bluffs, what we need to do is look at the pot odds that our opponent is getting on his bluff, if he's bluffing. For instance, he's betting 2 to win 1. And then we look and see what his break-even threshold is. If he's laying 2 to win 1, he needs us to fold 2/3 of the time. If he needs us to fold 2/3 of the time, all we need to do is make sure that we call at least 1/3 of the time, and we keep him from making profit on his bluffs. Okay, now, this is the case when the opponent is going to have zero equity on his bluff when called. There are no more cards to come. But suppose more cards were going to be dealt. Suppose he may be bluffing here, but after we call, we are each dealt another card. Okay, in that case, it's not a pure bluff, it's a semi-bluff, and he's making a lay, but it's an equity-adjusted lay. When someone makes a lay on the pot and they have equity, the amount we have to call to keep them from making money on that bluff is greater. Because if he's betting, say he's betting 2 to win 1, okay? If we only call 1/3 of the time, while that negates his ability to make an automatic profit, okay, it essentially gives him free roll as far as getting the next card where he may draw out on us. Now, if we go back to the actual poker game here, we see here that we opened for 20, and we're looking at the possibility of this opponent shoving all in. Okay, if this opponent shoves all in for his $500, he's laying 18.5 to 1. So his break-even threshold is, he needs almost 95% folds. We would only need to call 5% of the time to keep him from making an automatic profit. Here we have our 100-hand range that we opened with, and out of these 100 combinations, 6 combinations are our pocket aces. We have them 6% of the time. So simply calling with the pocket aces will be sufficient to keep him from making an immediate automatic profit. However, there are more cards to come. Okay? Suppose we did only call with pocket aces. And suppose that this player were bluffing and he had something like a suited connector. We'll say that he had 7 of diamonds and 6 of diamonds. Okay. If you're looking at a smaller bluff, it may be sufficient to call enough to negate his pot odds, because we could come back over the top and push him off his hand. But if we're either flatting or if he's all in and we don't have the ability to rebluff, we have to adjust the possibility that he has equity when called. And he certainly will have equity. If we look here on Poker Stove, our hand is ace of diamonds, ace of clubs, and the opponent's hand is 7 of diamonds, 6 of diamonds. And after we call and run out the board, he has about 22% equity. Okay, now, we initially figured our call percentage on the fact that he would pick up this $27 pot 95% of the time, and 5 or 6% of the time win his entire $500. As we showed last time, that will not happen. If we call him, he's only going to lose about something like $328 on average, and not the full $500. Now, so essentially, even though the opponent may be planning that as a pure bluff, he's actually semi-bluffing. He's semi-bluffing because he's betting or raising with a hand that figures to be worse but has outs to improve to be best. Now, the question is, how do we figure the break-even threshold when we are semi-bluffing? We need to see it intuitively from both the offensive and the defensive side. When we're on the defensive side, we have a range of hands, some of them strong, and the opponent bets. We look at the possibility that he may be bluffing. Okay? If we call only the sufficient number of times to keep him from making the immediate profit, he still has the equity and he's free rolling. We have to call a sufficient amount of times that he does not get a free roll. And then on the other hand, when we are betting with a flush or a flush draw or a straight draw, we have outs to improve. And what we have to figure is when we make a bluff, how often do we need our opponent to fold for us to reach our break-even threshold, given the fact that we will have outs to improve when we're called. What we're going to do to illustrate this point is look at a case where we are betting at the pot with semi-bluff. We're going to say that when we are called, we have 20% equity, and we will say that we are going to be laying, let's say we are laying 3-1. Okay, since we're laying 3 to win, we're going to say that the amount of our bet is 3 units, and the amount of pot is 1 unit. So we're laying 3 to win 1 with 20% equity. Now we can answer a couple of our questions. First, how many times do we win per 10 calls? And how much? If we have 20% equity, we're going to win twice per 10 calls. And how much do we win when we win? When we win a bet, we win the amount of the pot plus the amount of our lay, because our opponent has to call the 3. We bet 3, so we're winning 4 units. We're winning that twice per 10 calls. So the answer to that number will be 8. So how much do we win per 10 calls? Twice. How much do we win? 4. So we win 8 units per 10 calls. Now, how much do we lose per 10 calls? If we have 20% equity, we're losing 8 times out of 10. We're laying 3 to 1. So 8 plus 3 is 24. We're losing 24 units. What is our net loss per 10 calls? Well, we're losing 24 when we lose. We're winning 8 those times when we win. So our net loss per 10 calls is 16 units. Okay? Now, since we were laying 3 to 1, we said that the pot is 1. Okay? So, how many folds do we need to offset this? If we win 1 unit for each time he folds, then we need 16 folds to offset these 16 units. So the answer there is 16. So this means we're going to need, this means in this case, when we're laying 3 to 1 with 20% equity, we need 16 folds per 10 calls to reach our break-even threshold, which means we need 16 out of 26 folds, a little bit over 60%. And once you do this a couple of times and ask yourself these series of questions, you should be able to do that in your head. I think we're about at 10 minutes, so that's all for now.